It feels like ages ago since we recorded. I know, it kind of was.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, we did
2 weeks.
What a week. Is it 2 weeks? Yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks where we did Halloween 6. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause 2 episodes are within a couple of days of each other, so we had that buffer. Yeah, oh dear. It does feel like a while.
It does feel like a while. I feel like with this month, I feel like we've got actually a theme in the theory going of, shall we say, folk?
It's gone that way, hasn't it?
Yeah, was that intentional?
Yeah. Maybe subconsciously.
Yeah.
I think because we've got the witch or the vitch.
The vitch.
The vitch.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I didn't think, right, I'm going to pick something that fits with that, like, deliberately. But the reason why I picked this is because I bought it recently. I picked it up. I found it in CX, whatever.
Yeah.
I thought, I'd seen it previously, and I was like, wouldn't mind watching that again. I can't remember. It was, cheap Blu-ray price. I was like, for however much it was, a $5.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll pick it up for that and watch it again. And then as I just got it, and I was like, I feel like it, because I feel like it's also a little bit of a not necessarily underrated, but not everybody will have seen it or necessarily have heard of it, because it's not a big film. It's a bit of a British indie sort of thing.
A hidden somewhat gem to some.
Yeah, because I definitely think we should probably just say from the top, I don't think this is everybody's cup of tea.
No, the film we'll be talking about today is definitely not everyone's cup of tea. As people say on Twitter, I think I speak for everyone when I say this is not for everyone.
It's definitely not for everyone. I think it's fair to say it's hated by quite a lot of people, to be quite honest.
I think hate's a strong word. Hate is a strong word.
It is a strong word, but I was reading a little review on it last night, and they watched it at a Fright Fest, I'm not sure. Okay. And basically nobody liked it. Not a single person enjoyed watching it at this particular festival. However, I also know that there are a lot of people that really rate it. So, yes, Ben Wheatley's Kill List from 2011.
Yes, that is what we'll be discussing today. If you haven't already read the title of this episode, it's right there. It's right there in King's English. Yes. Kill List, Dreadcast, episode whatever.
The Dreadcast is the pod, and then
that's
the
us.
other words are the film that we'll be discussing.
Two words. They're right at the front. Right at the front there. There's no film called The Dreadcast, I don't think. If there is, that would be amazing, and we'll find it and do a Dreadcast episode on the Dreadcast. That'd be fantastic.
On the Dreadcast, that would.
But before those words get too redundant, yes, welcome back to the Dreadcast. My name's Tom. Welcome, and the lovely Aidan.
Hello.
We're out. We're never out of spooky. I said spooky. You heard me. I didn't say.
Yeah, I definitely heard the K.
We're never out of spooky season here on in the Dreadcast. It's year round. It's year round. But there's something about October that just feels nice. The nights are drawing in. You can turn the lights down. You got the lead up to Halloween. It's like the lead up to Christmas. Christmas is starting now, really. You got the lead up. Start getting ready, and for people that like Christmas. But October, start watching horror films. But we're year round. We don't stop. We're 52 weeks a year horror here. Can't stop, won't stop. Little diddy shimmy there. So I can't actually remember where I was going now. I was just bigging us up, basically.
Yeah, no, it's good.
A little big up there. Yeah, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Well, thanks, folks.
Back.
That was it.
Welcome back to the Dreadcast. Yes, we will be discussing Ben Wheatley's 2011 film, Kill List.
Yes.
So this was a second time watch for me, and I believe a first time for you.
Yes.
And as we were saying, Yeah, inadvertently, we've created a little bit of a theme this month. So
Yeah.
the folk horror vibe, witchy stuff, cults and things. Yeah,
But did I
there's a little
say
bit
I
of
was?
a vibe.
Because my pick was obviously The Witch. This was your pick. We do a
Yeah.
pick each month, folks. We do a pick each month. We do carrying on our Monsters Universal series, and then maybe we'll do a new film or something completely obscure. Did I pick The Witch first, and then you picked this?
Yeah,
But
I think that's how it worked.
But you like you just said, you did it because you wanted to watch it again, rather than the fact it's got folk aspects in it.
Yeah, it's just coincidence, really, that we've ended up with sort of two folk horror type of things. And this Kill List is, I think, generally considered as being a folk horror sort of vibe. I'd certainly say it is.
I will say what I think it is soon.
Okay. But yeah, no, it wasn't like, oh, I'll pick. I didn't. It wasn't until after the fact that I thought, oh, we've got something in the same vein. I mean, it's not. You wouldn't say they're the same sort of film, definitely, but there's themes and maybe the tone and the mood is.
Without doubt.
Is
Yeah.
Is the same. So yeah, we've ended up on a little folk horror thing, which I love. So that's fine by me. Absolutely.
You do indeed. You do indeed.
Have you seen any other Ben Wheatley films?
Now, when you said on the Discord there, you were going through a Ben Wheatley kick not long ago. I mean, I didn't know that he directed this. So then I looked up Ben Wheatley. No, it's the answer.
Okay,
to that.
fair enough.
But I do know of his films. It's not like this is a completely obscure director to me. Like I've obviously his most latest film. I've obviously heard of Meg 2. I never saw
2,
it. It doesn't interest me. But there are films such as The ABCs of Death, which always intrigued me. I've heard of Sightseers.
Sightseers is very good. I definitely recommend.
And High Rise rang a bell as well.
Right.
So yeah, I know of his films, but no, this is his first film I've ever seen.
I mean, he's got. I'd say he's got a bit of a style. It's certainly there are three. I'd say there are three films of his that kind of all have a similar kind of tone and vibe. So A Field in England is another one of his that's worth watching. And In the Earth as well. And I think those three probably form his kind of folk horror trilogy.
Right.
Basic connected by tone and vibe rather than any of the actual subject matter. But yeah, weird things occurring in the countryside is it sort of encapsulates those three films. But they are very different as well in subject matter. So A Field in England is a period piece set in during the Civil War.
Okay.
In the Earth is a modern day thing set around a pandemic.
Sorry. The last film you said during the Civil War. Do you mean the American?
No, the English Civil War.
A bit more.
The English Civil War. Roundheads, Cavaliers, Oliver Cromwell.
I've heard of Cromwell.
Yes, good. I mean, as a former British school kid, you probably would have covered it.
Look. Right. I mean, I did art mostly at school. History. Okay. I love history. I love facts about history. I love history. But I had an awful teacher at school, so it was one of those things where, as a kid, if you've got an awful teacher, you're not going to pay attention. I look back at it now, and I'm like, history's fascinating. Like just anything really bad. And I wish I'd paid more attention. So we probably did do that, but you
probably did. I mean, you will have done. So 1642 to 1651. It's but it's that sort of peak period of Puritans and witch hunting and
yes,
that kind of period of so Witchfinder General is set during the same time period. So A Field in England has that sort of, although it's set basically on the in quite the aftermath of a battle, but essentially some people escaping from a battle, running away from a battle. and it's centered around them. But there's a Witchfinder character in there, and it stars the absolutely fantastic Reece Shearsmith, who's also in The Earth. So if you're a fan of, well, both Ben Wheatley and Reece Shearsmith, you've probably already seen these films, but if not, you should definitely check them out. So that's a period piece, and then In the Earth, as I say, it's set around a pandemic and researchers looking for, some researchers looking for another researcher who's looking for a cure for whatever this disease is. I watched that one quite recently, so it hits fairly close to home, given recent world events. But it's probably the inspiration for making the film in the first place. But yeah, Kill List, completely different vibe, because it's a hitman movie. Is it not? What? Go on. What are your thoughts? What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, because I always go. A lot of the times lately, it's been films you have either not seen or not seen for a long time. So this is quite a nice turn of events.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back to Aidan's Dreadcast podcast. I am the guest on this episode. So do you know what? I didn't take that many notes on this, but there's a lot up here, tapping my brain, my noggin, that I need to unload about this film.
Yeah. Okay.
2/3 of it, first 2/3, so say first act, second act, felt like it could have been a BBC thriller drama.
Yeah.
Just because it's British, the way it's shot, it's very intense at times, tensions building up, what's going on.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, it is well produced. You know, I doubt it had a big. I haven't looked at the budget.
It's about $500,000, I think.
Yeah, it didn't look like it had much budget.
Just or maybe under that.
There's something about, it felt quite indie. There's something about the way the writing was done, the acting, the setting, just in a normal suburban house, suburban family. They've got friends over. Felt so legit and real. It didn't feel Hollywood or staged. It felt like we were watching a Channel 4, Channel 5 documentary with hidden cameras.
Yeah, it's like a kitchen sink drama sort of.
Yes.
Yeah, this is England kind of
I
thing.
really appreciate that type of acting and writing, because it really takes you in. It really pulls you into it, makes you feel like this is real. There are some issues I felt with that. I felt the story went off tangent at places. So in the beginning we get a sort of surprise with Fiona, which the lovely Aidan here will do a quick rundown of the plot in a minute.
I will.
Because I'm not going to be able to. The lovely Fiona, a character you'll talk about in a minute, doing some sort of carving in their bathroom. Right? It's sort of like a symbol, these are the targets, and that kind of never really got talked about again. And I'm like, okay, I've got 20 minutes left of this film. What happened with that? I would have preferred a bit more sprinkling throughout of, let's see that sign again somewhere else. I'm looking for this symbol that she carved, this target sign somewhere else in the film. Is it there? Is something going to link to this? It just tailed off, and for about 45 to 50 minutes of the film, it's a BBC thriller drama about two ex-military servicemen who have now become contract killers, going after targets that we're not actually clued into why these people are targets, why they're killing these people. And we know one of them is a dirty nonce who deserves the disgusting death that he gets, but it kind of goes in a different direction, then comes back to it somehow. I
think this is one of the things I really like about it, in that it's very unique. And while I do agree that there are things that don't quite pay off, I think it works in this context. I And to be honest, it might actually be one that benefits from repeat viewings. It was my second watch, and I definitely got more out of it this time round than I did the first time round. I was actually a little bit disappointed by it the first time round, but kind of felt like I owed it to myself to watch it because I like Hitman films. I like that sort of gritty British. I like the cast of the movie, and I like Ben Wheatley's other stuff. So I kind of felt like I should give it another shot. Should give it another crack of the whip at some point. And I'm glad I did because I definitely got more out of it second time round. Like I said, I still think there are things that don't, that are things that are raised that don't quite pay off. But it's a film, and Ben Wheatley said this in an interview himself that he wanted to make a film that you had to pay attention to and you had to think about. He wanted the audience to
without doubt, yes.
Yeah, it's not one to stick on and just let it play in the background. It's not.
I was not bored at all, or like drawn away to something else. This had my attention the whole way through.
Yeah, but it needs your attention. You are going to miss things, and there are definitely subtleties that are going to come.
Yeah,
that are going to maybe pop a little bit more, or things that you're going to miss first time watching that you'll pick up the next time round. It's not one to give away. To just stick on with a bag of popcorn, or immediately start looking at your phone.
No, not at all.
So yeah, as you said, Tom, it follows the story of primarily Jay, played by Neil Maskell, who you might recognise as I can't remember the character's name, but he's a Football Factory. He's Danny Dyer's best mate in the Football Factory. I'm sure he's done a bunch of other stuff as well, but that's where Rob, I believe he's called.
I recognised his mate Gal more, and I can't piece where I recognise
Michael Smiley is Tyres in Spaced, so he's the bicycle courier, the raving bicycle courier in Spaced. He also is in an episode of Black Mirror with it's the one with the
yes,
the woman that wakes up and there's the people videoing the smilers or whatever they're called. That's
one of my favourite Black Mirror episodes.
Absolutely fantastic episode. But yeah, Michael Smiley. I mean, he's probably been in a bunch of other stuff. He's a great Irish actor, former stand-up comedian as well, I think.
I was getting confused with him to begin with, and I actually thought it was Eyeball Paul. I can't remember his acting name.
Rhys Ifans.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a similar look. He has got a similar look to him, to be fair. He's been in a bunch of stuff.
Rhys Ifans, yeah.
I mean, he's in, and he's worked with Ben Wheatley before. He's in ABC's A Death. He's also in another one that the name escapes me. Free Fire, I think, is also Ben Wheatley. He's in that too. Which I've not seen. So yeah, it follows the story of Jay and Gal. These two, as you say, former British military soldiers who are now contract killers. There's a couple of references throughout. So the film actually opens with Jay and his wife Shell having a bit of an argument, having a bit of a row about money, which, like you say, adds to this sort of very gritty kitchen sink drama sort of tone. And it transpires that Jay hasn't worked for about 8 months, and the money's becoming tight, and she's sort of keen for him to get back in the saddle. She mentions a back problem that's all in his head or something. And they're preparing for a dinner party, and Gal and his girlfriend Fiona come over to have this dinner party. As part of that, Gal mentions that he's got a job, basically, and then it transpires that the job is contract killing. So it's work they've done before. They keep referencing what happened in Kiev, which we never find out, but essentially something bad happened, and that caused Jay to want to quit, or how he's going through a bit of a personal crisis. But we never find out what happens or what happened in Kiev to knock his confidence or whatever. So the rest of the film then plays out. We see Gal and Jay head to the meeting with the client. We're never given a name, but he is just referred to as the client. There's an odd bit of blood contract signing.
Man, that contract signing where the client cuts Jay's hand. That is gruesome. That is a good effect. It is a good effect. In fact, some of the blood and effects in this film is actually pretty good for the budget and quality of the film.
For the budget. And as well, I mean, the level of violence is
it ramps
hard.
up a bit. Yeah.
It is, as this is not for the squeamish. It's really, really visceral and quite graphic. Some of the stuff we see happen. So Gal and Jay decide to take on this contract. It's a list of 3 people, and they head out to each one. Over the course of it's a few days, a week or so. The hits largely go off without hitch, but the alluded to, I think it's fair to say, we don't find out exactly what each of the victims has done, but it's alluded to that it's all very horrible.
We don't give reasons.
Trafficking and sex crimes and that kind of thing. It's all a bit, they're all sort of heinous people. To which Jay sort of goes above and beyond in the methods of dispatch, and he starts to sort of lose his composure, shall we say?
Especially with the third one,
which causes Gal and Jay to have a bit of conflict. That's resolved as they head towards the final victim, or the final target, and then the film takes a very sharp detour into full-blown Wicker Man territory, basically.
But it just happens.
It just happens. Yeah.
There's not really too much of a subtle build-up throughout the film to it. It's like, oh, we're doing this now.
Yeah, I mean there is a subtle build-up, but it is very, very subtle. I think that's what, as going back to what you were saying earlier, and what Amber said about subsequent viewings.
Yeah,
there is a little bit, but it still doesn't make it clear as to what's going to happen.
No.
Yeah, it does feel, even on subsequent viewings, I guess it'll still feel like it comes really sort of far out of left field. That we've got straw masks and torches and naked processions through the woods and ritual sacrifice, the whole 9 yards. It really does go for it. So, don't want to give away too much about the ending just yet. I think.
I agree.
We'll save that for later. But that's, in a nutshell, that's the plot. It's two hitmen getting back into the game and having a problematic contract, I guess, if you want to wrap it up in a nutshell. That's what it
starts to spiral out of control the more they go on. So the thing with Jay, our main, and his wife and the son, I feel like the film tries to give you a bit of backstory with their family, right at the beginning. Like they are a dysfunctional family. The fight, as I said earlier, like the writing and the acting feels so real at times. Like their fighting's quite uncomfortable.
Oh yeah,
their domestic fighting. I was almost waiting for a big old slap across their face, and like, oh.
I mean,
okay, here we go.
Particularly the dinner party scene where he pulls the tablecloth off and stuff. Again, I mean, this is something that was like intentional. I think, again, in another interview, Ben Wheatley said something about the real or the scariest horror being your parents shouting or something like that, which it does. I think it's something we can all. Everyone's been in an awkward situation where a couple of friends or family members or whatever are arguing, and it's all getting a bit heated and horrible, and it is a really.
Oh, I hate being in confrontation, around confrontation. I hate it.
It's not nice. It's not a nice thing to be involved in, or to be around, rather.
We talk about times about what scares you in horror, which we talk, but like, and there's so many. It's so subjective. I mean, forget that list that scientists did a few weeks ago or months ago that was the scariest horror films ever made, whatever. And,
Oh yeah.
I think Sinister was number one, and they're all like cheap jump scare horror films with ghosts and and there's so many. What scares you in horror is so objective, but like you said, like something like this, if it's done well, if it's acted well, if it's written well, it's really intense watching them fight, and it's quite. I don't want to be here anymore.
No, there is. There's a lot. There's a lot that sort of goes into this, and I think it's made exceptionally well. We've got that sort of human conflict and the shouting and the arguing in a family dynamic, and it's about money and she's mad at him because he hasn't been to work for 8 months, but he's mad at her because she's somehow spent 40 grand in that 8 months. So there's a little bit of
house.
They've obviously done well. It's interesting actually that because it's not instantly apparent that he's a hitman. He says something about working with computers or sales or something.
Yeah.
And it's not until it's not a long way into the film, but it's not immediate that he's a hitman. But when it is revealed that he's a hitman, it's also revealed that his wife knows full well. It's not a secret that in the family. Well, I'm assuming
she's all on board.
Know. But she knows. She even procures the guns. Apparently, like when he reveals that assault rifle that he's got, he says to Gal, "Shell got it for me." So don't know how she's involved and has access to heavy weaponry, but yeah, they know. Like this isn't like his secret,
Well, she was. Like... We get the minor bit of her explaining she was in the Swedish armed forces or Swedish...
Oh, she does. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she does.
And there's even a picture of her.
Yeah, she does mention that she was Swedish national service. She did Swedish national service. Yeah,
I was really trying to clock what. There's a part they've had a row at the beginning, right at the beginning of the film, and then she's on the phone, I believe, to her mum in her native language, and I really couldn't clock what language that was. I don't really know Swedish that well. I've never.
No, I can't say I've heard, but yeah, it is Swedish. And I don't think. Apparently, Mianna Buring, the actress that plays Shell, is Swedish, or of Swedish descent.
Yeah.
And that was improvised by her, and nobody knows, or I'm sure people that understand Swedish know, but none of the cast or crew or the director know what she actually said in that conversation because it was all improvised at the time.
Really?
Yeah. So I imagine she just had a note saying, you're mad at your husband in Swedish or something, and she just rattled off.
Okay. But yeah, that we don't get much of her. I mean, obviously we get it towards the end. We really establish that she knows what she's doing with a gun, and she's got training, she's got experience. She never really, like you said, she knows about his contracting and whatever and being involved in it, but she never really seems to be against it.
No. Well, presumably it pays well, like you say. They've got a big house, and he specifically mentions this sort of safety account or the holiday money or something having 40 grand in it, which she's apparently been spending while he's not been working, but she's been spending it on a jacuzzi or some repairing the jacuzzi. 40 grand in 8 months is quite a lot of money to spend, even with a relatively big house.
One thing I did write down specifically, that I did think this film was going to go in this direction. So they've got the four of them at this dinner party. And there's still a bit of tension between Jay and his wife because money situation, and obviously it ends with him destroying the dinner table and then fighting. Gal, his best mate, the Irish guy, comes states he's got a job of 3 people to knock off. I was expecting a sort of Strangers type film here, where it was all going to be in the house, and the 3 people were Fiona, Jay, and Shell. Because 3 people. I was kind of expecting a little, and they've got the training, but Gal's obviously got maybe a lot of training. I was expecting a bit of back and forth there.
Yeah. Oh,
That's fine.
been
It's fine. It didn't happen, but I just free people, free. You know, and there's obviously something felt off about Fiona because obviously something felt off about her.
Yeah, Fiona played by Emma Fryer. Again, another actress and comedian. She's done a bunch of stuff, mainly TV things, I think. I'm just having a look through her. I mean, she was Susan Random in Toast of London.
I need to
Janine
watch
in
Toast
Phone
of
Shop.
London.
So a lot of British comedy stuff, specifically TV comedy. Not a huge list of movie credits. Skint, the TV series she was in quite recently. But I think acting sort of secondary. She's mainly a comedian, stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
But she's got a wonderfully angular face.
Oh,
she looks sort of sinister and witchy anyway. And then I think it's pretty clear that she's not. She's sort of new to the dynamic. So obviously Gal and Jay know each other, and Gal knows Shell as Jay's wife. I think it's fairly quickly apparent that she's a new person to come into this dynamic.
Yeah.
And I think it's revealed later that may have even been their first date or second date or something like that.
Yeah. They barely know each other.
Yeah, and she's come in, and just as quickly as she sort of comes in, she goes out again. But she's just sort of making small. But then she reappears later as just trying to be friendly with Shell. And she's an odd character that kind of pops up and out throughout the film, and is always a little bit, off. There's something about her.
But it is that dinner party where, like I said earlier, we cut to a scene of her in their bathroom.
Yeah.
Takes off the mirror, on the back carves a symbol, which you see at the beginning of the film. There's no opening credits in this film. There's no title crawl. There's just this symbol that's like it looks like an arrow, but it's a cross with a triangle.
Yeah.
You know? And she carves this symbol, and nothing really comes of this in a way. It's like a target symbol. It's like say she did it on the outside of the house with paint to tell people this is the target. It's inside the house behind a mirror.
And the mirror. Which maybe gives it a more supernatural flavour, like it's a
maybe.
But again, that's not explored any further. But I think I took that to be, because I think first time I watched it, I'm with you. I agreed. It was like, oh yeah, something's gonna happen with that, and it doesn't. But I think if you take it in isolation, as it basically the film basically just saying it isn't going to be what you think it is. Something weird is going to happen at some point. So essentially, we have this dinner party scene. We have the arguments and the rowing, and it's very, sort of EastEnders Christmas special.
Oh, without doubt. Yeah.
and then, just sort of right at the end of that, we have, Fiona, she takes off the bathroom mirror, she carves a symbol, and takes a bloodied handkerchief as well. She a bloody tissue. So she takes that and sort of secretes that inside her bra or whatever. Again, we don't find out why, but I think it's just a huge big signpost to say, we've got some weird witchcraft stuff coming. Or you know what I mean? There's going to be ritual things occurring. This is folk horror stuff. I think that's the way I've taken it, is that it's the specifics of it don't necessarily come back, or it's not explained what that symbol is or why she's taken that tissue. But I think it's just generally a flag to say, you're watching a horror movie. This is going to go Wicker Man.
We don't even see that symbol again.
No, we don't. No. But that's what I like about it. It's just it's weird and it's unnerving and and again, just as what I was going to say earlier, is that the way the film's shot and the sound direction, you get weird audio cutouts and the music choices and things like that are very interesting. Did you sit through the end? I'm not necessarily expecting you to, but did you sit through the end credits?
No, but
There's
now
not.
you
There's not
said...
there's not a post credit scene or anything like that. But
Okay.
it's just the song that's used, or the audio that's used during those end credits is creepy as hell, and it's just voices whispering and just
Okay.
it's awful.
I
It's
will check
really,
it out.
really, it's
I'll
really
check it out
nasty.
after this because I watched it on my new favorite website, Internet Archive.
Fair enough.
So I will check it out after. But I can kind of get what you're saying because the sound design was fantastic. I will give it that on this film. It reminded me a bit of the sound design of Men.
Yeah.
Just this eerie, uncanny sounds. It doesn't need.
Men is a really good shout.
I really liked Men
for the tone and the
yeah.
the style of it. And to be honest, I was thinking that Ben Wheatley had something to do with Men. I'd realised. No, he didn't. No, it was
okay.
It was Alex Garland that that directed that, and it's nothing to do with him. But it's the same because it's the same sort of tone and the same sort of style and a little bit of a weird folky horror kind of thing. It wouldn't surprise me if he directed that and vice versa, I suppose. And to be honest, if you Google Men, people also search for In the Earth, The Witch, The Ritual, Midsummer. So it's all very much that sort of The Wicker Man. It's all very much that sort of vibe. I'm sure Kill List is also on the list as well. People also search for. So we're definitely in that territory. So yeah, that's a good shout. So yeah, they're going back to the. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll just get one more thing on Fiona. She does also appear one more time when they're in the middle of one of their kills. They're back at the hotel where they're staying, and she appears outside the hotel, just slowly waving at Jay.
Waving.
And I'm like, is he imagining this? Because he doesn't react that much well. I would be. The fuck is she what is she doing down there? Why is she here? He just
it's interesting.
Just waves back and then goes back to bed.
Yeah.
There's not much of a reaction there.
No, but the way she waves is repeated later on with the girl at the end and the hanging. She waves in the same way before she kicks herself off the thing.
She does.
There's a lot of like weird foreshadowing that comes back. That comes back later. Again, is it significant? Is it relevant? I don't know, but it's like there are little beats like this that notice. There is a theory amongst a few fans that this is actually all a dream, or a lot of this is a dream. At several points throughout the film, people shout at Jay to wake up, and it's not. And like I say, things will happen that obviously that are then. That are foreshadowing later events and things.
Yeah, so Shell does that. She's like, wake up.
She shouts at him to wake up. I think Gal tells him to wake up at one point as well. And his son also wakes him up at one point as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not. It was a I can't, apologies because I can't remember what the blog was, but I found a blog post reviewing Kill List that I skimmed over last night after I watched the movie. And they were saying in that it's the same person that had seen the screening at the Fright Fest, and they were saying they had this theory and they'd spoken to Ben Wheatley about it, who hadn't discredited it. He'd not discredited it, and it does kind of work. I don't know if I'd say that's definitely what's happening, but it's an interesting idea and it does fit.
Go on.
So yeah, I think. Oh. Sorry, we're going to have to take a little break there. There's somebody at the door.
There's somebody at the door. There's somebody at the door. There's somebody at the door.
Where were we? You were talking about subtleties.
The dream theory.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure I subscribe to it myself. I see how it fits, but I don't think that that's the intention. I think we're supposed to believe that this is happening in real life, and that's just what goes down.
I find the idea of like dream theories a bit lazy at times.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I guess a counter argument that all the sort of foreshadowing and stuff is because some kind of ritual is being performed, perhaps. Like I say, we don't find out specifically, and I do enjoy the ambiguity of it. And I think it's definitely a film that is open to coming up with your own theories as to what's happened. I think if you do a quick Google on it, like ending explained comes up quite frequently.
Yeah. I can believe that. Yeah. I would want that. Yeah.
I think there is a lot of ambiguity. But as I said earlier, this was sort of the director's intention for it not to be clean cut and dried and straightforward, and it is meant to provoke thought and something to think about. So yeah, Jay decides to accept Gal's offer of working with him on this contract, and they head off. And the first target is a priest.
Gog. From Peep Show. He plays a character.
Is it the same guy?
He's Gog.
Oh, you know what? I never realised that.
Wants to do the advert for Honda.
Yeah.
With Jess.
Honda are interested.
I want a kebab.
Get me a kebab. I want a kebab.
I want a kebab. It's
I never realised that was him. Oh, that's brilliant.
Crunchy nut cereal. Bit expensive, eh?
As I recall. Oh, yes, Super Hands is brilliant in that.
Bash him with the baseball bat.
Shall we do a Peep Show podcast as well?
Oh, God, if we could.
Oh, I never realised. So that's Gareth Tunley.
Yeah. I just saw him and I was like, it's Gog.
I might have to. Funnily enough, he's in a short film called How Not to Make a Short Film, as well.
For Honda.
Yeah. For Honda. Yeah, he is also. He's also in Sightseers.
He is the first victim.
He is the first victim. Do we find out his crime?
No.
I mean, the Jay assumes that he's a paedophile, but that's because he's a priest. So I think there's a little bit of prejudice running ahead with that. I don't think we ever actually find out what he's supposedly done.
Allegedly, in the real world, people do assume that. Allegedly. Allegedly. That's how you get away with stuff on the internet. Just say allegedly. Allegedly.
I mean, there are cases out there. This has happened.
Yeah.
But we're not tarring everybody with the same brush.
He doesn't, much like the second victim, where we get a bit more, much more actually, of a backstory to our victim. There isn't really anything. They follow him. Well, they get a montage of him in the church ceremony, and then that's about it.
Well, I guess this is the thing. Again, we're not told. It's open to interpretation. And arguably, I said that what his crime is. They're not law enforcement. They're hitmen. Yeah. So, technically speaking, nobody is necessarily a criminal. It's just somebody that the client has paid to have killed. Yeah. And I think personally that they are sacrifices in a ritual. Why these particular people are sacrifices in a ritual, I don't know. But I think ultimately it's a slick way for this cult, shall we call it, to fulfill their ends.
Which we don't know why. If they are sacrificed, we don't know why. For what reason?
No. We don't know
what it is, because they also say thank you. The victims. Yes,
they do. They do say thank you. I mean, that is literally the only thing that the priest says is just Jay tells him to turn around, and he just says thank you. So it hints that the victims are also potentially involved. That they are, in some ways, willing sacrifices. It's like I say, it's not explained, but there is. We're given like big bold letter titles before the execution of each victim.
Sort of like
So-
chapter separation.
Yeah, like chapter separation. So we have the priest and the librarian, I think, is the next one.
Yes, he is.
And then is it the MP? I can't remember.
Yeah. So the priest, the librarian, no, there was there a third one, and then the MP.
Oh, there's the Hunchback. They have the
No,
Hunchback.
well, we'll get onto the Hunchback. That's the final
which
one.
is the last definite title card. Maybe it's just those three.
After the librarian, he goes to kill the guy who has a dog.
Yeah, but I don't.
Is that
think...
to do with the librarian?
Yeah, like he's not a I don't think he is a legit target on the actual kill list.
Okay.
I think he is, because obviously they interrogate the librarian, and he finds out that. So let's talk about it. So the next hit, the next official hit, is this quote unquote librarian, who they follow. Again, we see scenes of them tailing him. They follow him, and they find a lockup. They investigate this lockup after he's gone and find it's filled with a lot of pornography.
Bad stuff.
And yeah, we never actually see what Gal. It turns on the TV screen and we hear like screaming and stuff, and they talk about it. It's completely left up to your imagination as to what's going on, but it's fairly obvious that it's some sort of
very young screams.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you don't want to go into it, but that's what you hear.
I think that's
horrible.
I think it's safe to say that's what it is.
Yeah.
So then they go after the target, the librarian, and there's a rather brutal torture scene involving cigarettes, burning him with cigarettes and a hammer. Rather extensive use of a hammer.
Yeah, and extensive use on a pretty good special effect mannequin, prosthetic body, head specifically.
Yes.
But the librarian himself, he is the librarian, right?
Yes.
He really changes his tune. Like to begin with, he's like, I don't know what, why are you doing this to me? I'm so pathetic and weak. And then he sort of changes his tune to be like, yeah, what are you gonna do? Yeah, I know. And he says, I know who you are. I know like what you.
He does. It's when Gal goes out of the room. So Gal basically leaves the room to go and find his safe and take whatever money they can find. Which I guess is just one of the perks of being a hitman.
Yeah,
you get to
take it.
You get to loot. You get to loot the victims.
Yeah. Why not?
And then at which point, when Jay's on his own, he despite being like battered and bloody and subject to being tortured, he stops and he thanks again. He says to Jay, he knows who he is, and he thanks him, which I think is like another little development that Jay is our Edward Woodward in this scenario. He's sort of the chosen one to be part of this ritual, and it's important that he does it. Gal is secondary, because obviously it's Jay's house that the symbol gets carved into. He's the one that carries out the hits, and then ultimately he's the one sort of left standing at the end as well. Again, it's not, I keep saying this, but it's not explained why. It's just that's how it is.
It's left up to your own interpretation, I guess.
Yeah. But so the librarian is the official hit, and then because of information gleaned through interrogating him and torturing him, they find out about somebody else that's involved in this, pornography, sex, crime, trafficking.
I would say
like
snuff film, sort of thing,
whatever it is. So then the next kill, as you say, the guy with the dog, is not an official target. Jay goes rogue, and that's what causes the conflict with him and and Gal. Is like, you're going off, you're getting too involved. You're going, it's a job. You're going off the reservation. You're going off the deep end about it. So we just we're we're given that they arrive at that. It looks like a builder's yard or something like that. There's a bunch of skips there and stuff. And he says,
where he decimates that
I'm going
the guy
in.
and his dog. Yeah.
I'll be 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And after a period of time, presumably the aforementioned 20 minutes, Gal walks in to find Jay repeatedly slamming somebody's face into a wall to the point of absolute ruination. He stops as Gal enters and says, "Oh, has it been 20 minutes already?" So we're essentially led to believe that for 20 solid minutes he has been slamming this guy's face into pulp.
There's a shot when Jay has left the car and he goes in and Gal's waiting. There's a shot that the camera, it focuses on the front of the car, road behind the car, and a car pulls up behind their car, like on the road, stops and looks like it's about to turn in to where they are. I don't know if it's intentional, but I
didn't notice this.
It looked like that was going to be that. I was focusing on that rather than what's going on. I'm like,
okay,
these people was this a setup? Is this going to be
like
a hit?
setup? Yeah.
I was just, maybe that's what the film did to me. It was making me try to look for things. I think that's exactly what you meant to do, really. So I didn't notice. This is not something I've noticed. So see if I can find
interesting. I'd go back and watch it, but yeah, I guess maybe it could be. But I think it's that because we're sort of drip fed and tease these little things about what's going on, and I think a lot of the time it is very subtle. And yeah, I guess kind of easy to then sort of go overcompensate and go like every little detail is something. So yeah, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I'll try to find it and
have to try and find it and look again.
So I mean, that kill was related to the librarian.
Yeah, it's like basically because they realized and found out what the librarian was doing. They did a little bit of extracurricular killing. That's it. Yeah, he went off, but that guy, because he was involved in that operation, but wasn't a target. It wasn't nothing. It wasn't him. So the next legitimate target is the MP.
Yeah,
there's only supposed to be three. Obviously, there's only supposed to be three. But before that, obviously we get the conflict, and they actually attempt to try and get out of finishing the job.
Yeah, they go to the meeting with the client, and he's credited as the client.
Yes,
I quite like that.
Yeah, it's all mystery wrapped up in enigma. We don't find out.
Yeah,
we don't find out who he is. I vaguely recognised him, but I couldn't place him.
Oh, the actor playing the client.
The actor, yeah. So there's a chap called Struan Roger. I'm just having a quick look. Oh, I mean, he was the best man of Wedding 3 in 4 Weddings and a Funeral, apparently. He's Dr. John D in Discovery of Witches. That's a fairly recent series.
Stardust.
Some Silent Witness.
Three-Eyed Raven.
A few bits of TV. Oh!
Three-Eyed Raven.
Is in Game of Thrones?
Yeah, Three-Eyed Raven.
Oh, that's probably why I recognise him then.
Could be.
If that's who he is.
Yeah, I don't really see much else that... I mean, I personally recognise him from... There's a lot of TV like Taggart, Bill, but a lot of British
Midsummer
TV.
Murders.
Yeah.
Wallace has done some Wallace and Gromit voices in video games.
Lovejoy. Oh, yes.
I mean, yeah, he's obviously done a nice, good amount of character actor.
He did a show called Come Home, Charlie, and Face Them.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Okay. I think it's probably Game of Thrones. I recognise him.
Yeah.
It must be that. So they go and unsuccessfully. I can't remember now how they try and get out of it, but I can't remember the reason. Oh, is it? They basically say they'll be killed and their families will be killed. I think, is that right?
Yeah. They want fully out of it.
Yeah.
They're done. You know, this is where they've had their tension built up between the two of them, and they're just kind of done with it. Really, they want to move on. And then when they have the meeting, there's not just the client. There's like his colleague.
Yeah, he's got a couple of
shall
other
we
people
say there with him. And they're so calm and nonchalant about saying, no, you're in this. You're not getting out of this. And if you try, you'll die. Your family will die. Anyone you love will kill. So keep doing what you're doing for us until we tell you otherwise, basically.
Yeah.
Gal's just like, he's not happy about it, kicks off, and they then end up carrying on with the hit list. The kill list, you might say.
The kill list. Roll credits. So that's when we get the... so they go to the MP, their stakeout, where we see them performing some... I mean, guess using that military training, they're in the woods, they're building a little shelter, they're getting some rabbits.
Yeah, is that what the foreshadowing earlier on about the dead rabbit in their garden was for?
Is
it literally just for that?
I think so. Yeah, there's just...
Okay, I mean,
Maybe.
you didn't need it. Like, we know that they've got army training, so we could probably assume that they can survive in the wilderness. They've got all the camping gear.
Yeah. And they're staking out. So they're staking out what looks to be like your typical sort of country estate mansion.
They're like Checkers, you know, like
there's
sort of
there's a little bit like Checkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's intentional, and we're supposed to think that not only is it an MP, it's a rather high-ranking MP, potentially.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah,
potentially even the Prime Minister. Although I do feel like they'd say Prime Minister if it was the Prime Minister.
Yes.
But even so, but they go for it. They're quite happy to do that. But that feels like a huge escalation that they're, shooting some nondescript priest and some sleazy sort of back alley porn dealer is one thing, but then to go from that to MP is quite, feels like a big step up.
I feel like it's not so much a trope, but something that's used a lot, where it's very cliche that MPs are dodgy and always into scandalous things. So why not use that in this? But I think it was at this point where I was kind of starting to go, can we wrap some answers up? Can we get something a bit like, is it just two guys going on a hitman spree, a killing spree? I need something to give me some answers from earlier on.
And the film goes, well, no answers, but
here's this. And when they're in the woods as well, they stumble upon these tunnels. I'm not sure what they are. They're not sewers because they're at ground level.
I don't know. It's not.
But they use them as like a hideout before. They don't even sleep in there. It's like a hideout they find, then camp in the woods, and then come back to it later on. Yeah,
I don't know. It's like, I mean, tunnels. They're just them tunnels that you get sometimes.
Those tunnels in the woods.
In country manors. Those country manor tunnels. I don't know. I mean, maybe an old air raid shelter, or it's somehow connected to the sewers. The cellars of the mansion. It's not explained. It's a good excuse to have some running around in the dark panic stations later, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, this final act where the film becomes something completely different.
Yes. Yes. So just as you say, you're expecting or wanting something to be explained and wrapped
Yeah.
up, we start getting drums and lights through the trees.
As soon as I saw those torches, I was
Yeah.
like, I get it. This is why he picked this film. I understand now. Because, here we go. It's not.
Yeah.
This has been what I said earlier. This felt like a BBC serious hitman drama.
Yeah.
There's chanting, marching, and torches going through the woods.
Torches
there we
and
go.
nudity
This
and straw masks
is Aiden's film.
Yeah, I figured that's what the message. That's what it meant when you sent me that message. So yeah, we get a very pagan Wicker Man esque parade. I say there's people naked, wearing straw masks, carrying flaming torches. There's drums, and so Jay and Gal obviously think, what the hell's going on here, and follow. And they come across. It's in the edge of the forest. It's in a clearing or whatever, in a field. Some sort of ritual about to take place, and it's a young girl, a youngish girl. Is she wearing like a money suit? I couldn't quite work it out, but it's like a ghillie suit. It looks of paper. I think it was money that was.
Whoa, let's have a look if this will load
It's
up.
kind of difficult to make out given the flame, the lighting and stuff. But
I thought it was just like a large dress, like Homer's muumuu.
okay,
I just thought it was.
It is that sort of thing, but it's all what's the word, like fluttery, made up of individual sheets. It's got. It looked like it was. Banknotes.
Oh, that's so. I never. Well, yeah. I mean, you don't really get that much of a close up. There's a couple of shots you do. It's shot from across the what I thought was across a river or a lake, but it's not. It's just a field.
Yeah, it's just a field. So Jay and Gal are watching from the tree line while this unfolds in the field, and they witness basically this girl sort of quite happily step up onto a block underneath a gallows. She does a little
it's
a little
very
wave,
smooth wave,
and then kicks herself off the block and hangs. At which point, I mean, I guess understandably, Jay decides to open fire on them.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not actually told if any of the people. There's an obvious sort of high priest figure, who may be the MP in question. But I don't think it's. We're not told if the target is amongst this crowd of people.
And they're all wearing. We talked about these masks that they're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
They're all wearing these wicker, sort of tall. Think of Crash Bandicoot mask, but just cheaply made out of wicker with a
made out of straw.
Yeah. Straw. Yeah.
It's difficult. They're difficult to describe, but that's probably the best job of it.
They also, this kind of took me out of it as well, because when they start firing after this woman has hanged herself. I never get that why it's not hang. When they start firing and start running towards Jay and Gal on the attack, they're making these really weird sounds, like very non-human sounds, which kind of took me out of it a bit.
Pig squealing, yeah.
And that continues throughout the attack, throughout the next 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, I wondered about that. And I think you're right. I think it's supposed to be them that are making the sounds. But it was. I don't know how to describe it. Almost like we've seen the direction, like Wheatley just went, "We'll do pig squeals because that'll be weird."
I mean, yeah.
There's no reason for that. They could be making any noise, but it's just like that's going to sound creepy.
Yeah.
Because at this point it goes into, I mean, almost something like Aliens. Almost, it's
a completely different film.
It's running around in the dark in these tunnels. They're chased into the tunnels and are.
They've got their head torches on.
They've
so
got
that's
head
the only
torches
light
on,
you've got.
and yeah, there's a lot of shaky cam and the light source flicking around and
Little bit
gunshots
Descent.
going off. Yeah, just trying to
Little
think of
bit
something
Descent.
like that. So lots of gunshots going off, and yeah, it's all chaotic and confusing. And I think it's like, yeah, they are sort of squealing like pigs, but it feels like that was just a weird noise to use to add to the chaos and the confusion, rather than it's actually what they're doing, if you know what I mean.
They're not actually making that sound effects. It's like it's been added in post production, but why?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, I feel like it's just we want them to be making a weird sound.
Yeah.
Or we want there to be a weird sound happening.
Oh yeah. To give a bit more of a frightening feel.
Yeah, to just kind of ramp up the tension. That's what it feels like. But again, as we've said many times already, you're not getting an explanation. so interpret it whatever whatever way you will, really.
Yeah.
So we get this scene of a bit of running and gunning and being chased. And Gal buys the farm. He
gets it.
He gets it.
Yeah,
he gets it, and we have a nice. Again, it's like a different film, sort of.
It's a completely different film,
aesthetic
really
and tone,
is.
but we get that sort of heroic. Well, not necessarily heroic sacrifice, but we get that sort of best friend has died, and Jay has to put him out of his misery and move on without him. So he's out of there. He puts a couple of bullets in his friend and heads home.
No, he heads to a cottage that they seem to own because
it's a holiday home.
Yeah, before this, Shell's kind of like had enough. She takes the kid to this cottage just to get away for a little bit of separation. So he heads there. But as soon as he gets there, the horror and what would be the word? The chase from this cult, they're still following him. It's still happening. It's continuing.
Mm-hmm.
There's no break. They don't get a break. He's there, and he's instantly informing Shell what's happening.
Yeah.
Suddenly, more noises start happening outside. He goes to check it out. Shell starts to pack heat. She's got a silencer on the gun.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we get established that she knows what she's doing. With
she knows what she's doing as well. Yeah, she clearly remembers her training, and we get a little bit of little peppering of Siege movie thrown in there. So Jay's outside, and there's all these burning torches surrounding the place. So the cult of well, I say found him. Again, at this point, I think we kind of led to believe that Jay has been under surveillance.
Oh,
in fact,
all the time.
We skipped over it, but there is a scene where they Gal finds the photographs of them outside the priest's house.
Yes, that he does say that. Yeah.
So they have been surveilled. So presumably the cult knows exactly where Jay's holiday home is, his holiday cottage is. Probably already knows that Shell has taken their son, whose name escapes me, but he's not got a huge part in it. Their kid, whatever he's called, John, Sam.
Yeah.
So Shell's taken Sam there, and there's torches all outside. Jay's heads out to go on the offensive.
It's very good imagery. Like that's quite horrific imagery. You're already a bit shook up. You've just killed your best friend. You're being stalked by this unknown cult, and you've gone to this cottage that you feel is isolated to then suddenly see these torches just being lit up surrounding the house. That's quite an intimidating piece of
it is also quite a lot of work. So I'm wondering, is it while he's been inside with Shell, there's just been a couple of cultists sneaking around planting the stakes? Or did that happen previously on the off chance he might bolt for the cottage? Is just, or were they there for the moment that Shell and Sam were going to be taken? Because
They were thinking ahead.
there's some planning in there. So yeah, ultimately that's what happens. Jay gets captured. He gets bonked on the head and good night, sweetheart. And we have a sort of say a little bit of siege horror moment with Shell.
Picking them
dropping
off.
fools.
Oh yeah,
just she's like double tapping with this with the extras little safety shot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I say, she remembers her training. That's maybe there's a little side movie sequel where we see just how much of a badass Shell is.
She gets knocked out though.
But she does get knocked out, and
she gets it.
We cut to the Hunchback. And
there's like the cult are in like a circle. He's very quick actually because Jay gets. Would Jay get knocked out?
I mean, it's like bag on the head or bash on the back of the head. I'm not.
Yeah.
He gets captured. He wakes up, and we see that image of the lady with the thorns across her eyes. Which, again, not explained. Just that's some other cult stuff that's happening off to the side there. And Jay is stripped to the waist and given a mask and a knife, and he's about to throw down with
the mysterious Hunchback.
A mysterious Hunchback who is again similarly masked, but with a white shroud over. Yeah, and they have a knife fight, basically a good old fashioned.
I had a feeling what was going to happen here.
Yeah,
I had a feeling.
So after it's relatively short, isn't it? It's relatively short and
the knife fight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's not that long at all.
So there's a little bit of back and forth, but Jake quickly gets the upper hand and stab to use the technical term, stabs the shit out of the Hunchback. In the front, but
more so in the back.
In the back.
Yeah.
So as they're dying, does he take the mask off?
He takes the mask off. Yes.
He takes the mask off
and reveals to be Shell.
Obviously dying, bloody.
But she's laughing as well a bit.
She is laughing. We'll talk a little bit about the
laughter. Okay, all right.
In a second. But yeah, she's clearly not long for this world, but is laughing. At which point Jay is investigating the hump or the hunch, and we see a child's arm sort of flop out from under the shroud, and he's crowned the straw master. He's given the little straw crown, and everybody's cheering, and that
he's happy.
Is it?
Well, it's his son as well.
Well, yeah.
We have to mention that. Not just the child.
Sorry,
it's
I
his
thought
son.
that had been clear, but yeah, the child's arm flopping out, obviously, on his wife's back.
I mean, it's pretty bad, if it was any child, but the fact it's his son.
Yeah, but I thought that was implied. It's not just any child, it is his son.
I'm not saying it was not bad if it wasn't his son. It's just so
so a little bit of Serbian film.
I was just about to say that. It's a bit Serbian film. Yes, it is.
If you've seen that.
I think Serbian film was after this, though.
Oh, really? I'm not too sure.
Oh, no, a year before. Never mind.
A year before.
Shut
I mean, I'm sure there are other films where people have inadvertently killed their loved ones. But but that was one. That was one that sprung to mind. I was like, oh, it's just like that bit. Well, not just like that bit, but never mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, credits, and like I said, that is it. No explanation as to what the cult was doing, why they, Jay was the target. So as I said earlier, if you Google kill list, ending explained or explained Reddit comes up.
Yeah.
What happened? And quite a bit is made. People ask about Shell's laughing and what it signifies. People have understandably thought that it signified that she was part of it. Shell was part of the cult, and she's laughing because that he's fulfilled whatever ritual he was supposed to be fulfilling, and and that's what it is. It's not. It's not as obvious as that. And Ben Wheatley has confirmed, he did tweet about it, that it was not. She's not part of the cult. She had no part of it. She is laughing at the sheer. This is a tweet of his from. Not sure just when it was. Must be a few years ago now. But yeah, she's laughing at the sheer crushing irony of it all. She's not part of the cult. So, whereas I can see why some people thought it was. She's laughing just because it's like a bonkers situation that they've ended up in. And yeah, it's like a laugh of, the mind snapping insanity. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it. But it's foreshadowed. So we have the sword fight scene at the beginning with the kid when they're playing with the kids' swords and in the garden, and Jay stabs
never clocked
Shell.
that.
So yeah, if you go, honestly, it's worth watching again.
I never
at some
clocked
point,
that. Yes,
because there is a lot of like little bits of foreshadowing things. Yeah, I agree that there could have been some bits could have been made a bit more of a big deal of, but I think it's a little bit more impactful the way it is. That you get a few little crumbs, and it is only a few little crumbs of there being something witchy going on or culty going on. But it's not until that sort of end sequence that it goes full blown Wicker Man. Yeah. But also still keeps a lot back because we have no idea. We've got absolutely. There's no monologuing of fulfilling a prophecy or this will help the economy or the crops are going to grow.
No, we don't know what
like
the cult is about. We don't know anything about it.
Absolutely
it's just
nothing.
There. It's not a bad film.
I like it. I really like it for that.
It's not a bad film
at
all.
I can see why it's not necessarily everybody's cup of tea because it is. It's an odd one.
I wish it was structured better.
Yeah.
I think that's my main problem with it. Like, I'm fine with mystery, I'm fine with intrigue and keeping the audience guessing, but I just wish it was structured a little bit better.
Yeah,
that's my main gripe with it. The acting's really fine, the writing's good. I like the intensity at times, but yeah, it's a film of two films at times. Yeah, that's my main issue with it.
No, I think that's fair. And again, I think other people have said similar that there are some odd editing choices and structural things that kind of let it down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting one, and I'm glad you ultimately. Well, did you ultimately like it? Would you say you enjoyed it?
Yeah.
I'm not getting another point on the scoreboard for this one, am I?
No. This,
okay.
again, this is no Antrim. This is no Outwaters.
Yes.
But I don't think it's one I would say watch again.
Okay.
I don't think I need to.
Fair enough.
I think I would still recommend it though.
Yeah.
I think I could give it a recommendation to people.
I think
it's not
that's
long.
fair.
It's an hour and a half.
I think I'd agree with that. I think it's unique enough that if you haven't seen it, then definitely give it a go. Particularly if especially if you're looking for a good British film, a good British horror film, It's maybe not strictly horror, but I'd definitely put it in the horror
That's
camp.
another point. Yeah, is it horror?
I think, yeah, I would put it in the horror film camp because of the ending, because of where it ultimately goes to.
Yeah.
Because it's cult activity, and...
But is it horror up until then?
Well, arguably no. Arguably no, it's not.
But again, I asked that question, but at the same time, I just thought Audition. Audition isn't really much of a horror up until the horror kicks in. So there are examples of that.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, I think I would, and I think generally it's considered a horror film. I mean, it's the Wicker Man, which is the benchmark for these sort of folk horror sort of things. Again, is that a horror film right up until the last 15 minutes? You know?
Well,
but I think anybody would say that it's the great. It's one of the greatest. It's definitely a horror film in most people's eyes.
Yeah, I think with the Wicker Man, there's a lot more. There is the foreshadowing, and there's a lot more setups, but they do pay off with the Wicker Man.
Yeah, all right.
Compared to this, it's Wicker Man is like that. Is a steady.
Yeah.
This is we go up a little bit, we go flat, we follow, and then we go up to a completely different peak, completely different part of the story. And it's not a steady, gradual incline to our peak.
Yeah, okay.
Crescendo of the climax of the film. The climax of this film kind of comes out of nowhere, but not nowhere if you're really looking at the for it in the film.
I think the build up to there being something ulterior, an ulterior motive at play is very subtle and perhaps too subtle.
Yes.
But it is there, undeniably it is there. But I concede it's a blink and you miss it. I mean, if you nipped out for a wee while Fiona's scratching the symbol in the back of the mirror, then you could argue that there's nothing that says it's going to go where it goes.
Maybe the cat death. They have a cat, and the cat is found wrapped up, hung up on their front door.
Yeah, but they're hitman. They're hitmen, and that could just be retaliation from whoever they've killed. Like,
yeah.
That could easily be in a crime, like if this was just a straightforward hitman movie, a crime drama, that could be a thing. Like, I think inscribing a symbol in the back of a mirror is undeniably a cult.
Yeah. That's the main point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if you blinked and you missed it, if you sneezed or went nip to make a brew during that bit, then it's really gonna come as a shock. But again, for me personally, I think that works. I like it. I like the fact that it does come out of nowhere. It's kind of similar with The Ritual as well. Have you seen The Ritual?
No, but I know of it. Ritual.
Rafe Spall. It's a bunch of lads hiking in Sweden, and it's based on is it Jason Newell, the author?
That's a big goat head.
Yes, I've got a bunch of his books that I need to read, but this is probably his best known. I don't know if it is Jason Newell now, unfortunately. I'm going to look it up though because it's only fair.
Yep.
But yeah, that has a similar sort of thing. Adam Neville. Adam Neville is the name of the author of the Ritual and a bunch of other stuff, and he's got a very sort of folk horror kind of vibe in his books.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I can see it already in the film
Yeah.
images. Yeah.
Hmm. So, but the ritual has a similar kind of thing where it feels like it's going to be one thing and then really does a does a sharp left turn towards the end. You think it's going to be kind of a basic Hills Have Eyes sort of thing, and then it changes.
But the end with the witch. The witch is a gradual incline to the climax. There's not somewhat of a different story occurring for half of the film to then we suddenly go into the folklore stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's probably my only major concern with the film. It's perfectly watchable film. It's just I found the structure the problem. I think that's fair. But yeah, as you said, I definitely recommend it. I definitely say it. If you've not seen Kill List, check it out. And certainly, if I was recommending Ben Wheatley's films generally, anyway, I'd say that is one to watch. Okay.
I haven't seen Meg 2, so I can't comment on that.
Big shock.
But I do like, for the most part, I do enjoy the films of his that I've seen, and Sightseers is excellent. Definitely worth watching. And yeah, Kill List and A Field in England as well, I think are all worth a look at. But they're sort of his sort of horror end of the spectrum. I'm not sure, because I think he's done a few other bits and pieces, and I'm not entirely sure what else of his you class as horror. But yeah, that is Kill List.
Le Kill List. Yeah. Pretty sound. Good pick. Yeah, doesn't go on the list. Doesn't go on the Antrim Outwaters list. We're still good with that list.
Good,
and we don't.
Good.
We almost don't want that list to fill up.
No, we don't. Of course, we don't.
We don't want it to.
And I'm glad because I was a little bit apprehensive when I picked it, and I was sort of thinking, and I know this is more of a me film than a Tom film.
That's fine. Because, like I said, I like the fact that I'd never heard of it. I'd never seen it. I had no idea about it. So I was happy to go in blind. That was great. It's probably the least horror film we've done on the podcast.
I think that's fair. I was also slightly apprehensive about that after the fact as well.
Yeah.
I was like, am I pushing it a little bit? And I was like, well, so what if I am? I think
it's fine. It's fine, and it blends in nicely to next week's episode, next week's film.
It does,
being the Vivitch.
The Vivitch.
Yeah, looking forward to watching this again, especially with I've got the 4K collector's edition, which you've seen. So yes, it'll be great to see again, and we continue the folklore horror talk.
Yeah.
In next week's episode.
And I'm going to dig out them Adam Neville books as well. But yeah, looking forward to the Vitch. Absolutely. It's not that long ago that I watched it, but I'll happily watch it again. I feel like I could watch that.
Did you watch it when it came out? Or were you quite...
No, it was a while after.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a while after. I mean, I really want... Did I really? Yeah, I think I did really like the look of it. And then I wasn't sure if it was actually horror, really, or whether it was like more of a period drama. And then I saw a couple of scenes from it in a documentary I was watching. I was like, yeah, I definitely need to, and I think I immediately went out and got it, so I could watch it, because I was like, it is
a slow burn.
Yeah,
slow burn.
Oh, incredibly.
Reminded me a bit of the way it was sort of structured with like the Babadook. Like the Babadook has its evil entity, but the horror is more about the mum's trauma. Yeah. The horror in Witch is a lot to do with the family's trauma. And what they're experiencing, what they're going through. Like there is an evil entity there, but it's really what they're going through, and it's great. It's fantastic. I look forward to us getting through it. Okay, before we get into this, actually, so we talked about The Witch next, and November also features us getting back into the Monsters of Universal world, and Bride of Frankenstein is this month's pick. And after that, hopefully, I'm checking now, we are going to be checking out Eli Roth's new feature
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, but I'm hoping it's got a UK release. It should have a UK release.
Well, not only hoping it's got a UK release, but has a reasonably wide UK release. Because
not just London, obviously.
Because you're down in that London
that there
where
London, yeah.
you get everything, and we still need leveling up here. So
I
think it is. I'm pretty sure I saw the trailer for it when I went to see Saw. So I'm fairly confident it's getting a.
Yeah, they were advertising it for London, weren't they?
I mean, they may have been.
See, what's your cinema chain of choice?
Well, View is the most local one.
Yeah, same. And they upgraded the View here with all the recliner seats. It's great.
Yeah, we've got a new.
Love it.
A new swanky one.
Here we go. Yeah, there's look, we got 17th of November, 17th, 18th, 19th. There's one showing each day of Thanksgiving, so there are only 3 showings. And at the moment, completely empty, so I'm good. Looks like Friday 17th or Saturday I'm going to see Thanksgiving. So
yeah,
that
sounds.
That's cool.
Look, Friday the 17th. Oh, it's not actually appearing on.
You got one up by you?
On mine, I'm on the. Oh, hang on. Sorry, it's not a View. It's a Real Cinema. My bad.
What is that? What is that?
Well, not one that's showing.
I've never heard of that before.
Not one that's. I mean, it's a chain. They've got admittedly a small chain. Maybe it's just the northern one.
It might be.
Quite, yeah. I mean, I do wonder why they do pie and peas instead of popcorn.
And instead of Coke, you get gravy.
Yeah. Always. Fizzy gravy is the way forward.
Fizzy gravy. Oh.
Anyway,
Oof.
I guess I'll have to venture a little bit further afield. If the View cinemas do have it, then there is one not too far away.
Yeah, hopefully we can both get around to seeing it. But hopefully Thanksgiving will be the film to cap off November. Leading into, which we'll get into in the next few weeks, our Christmas picks for December, which is all Christmas horror films. One good, one bad.
And I saw one in the window of a charity shop the other day.
Oh, no.
It was in the window.
Oh, no. That, if it's a charity shop, it doesn't mean anything.
I know, which I didn't leave. I did leave. I didn't get it, but it was exactly what we were talking about. The sort of
Okay.
Scraping the bottom of the Amazon barrel. It was called something like Hell Elves.
Good. That's what we want.
I'm not saying that's my pick. I'm saying I've spotted the caliber of film we're after in the wild.
It's good. It's what we want. So yeah, Christmas, the good, the bad, and probably
Definitely
the downright ugly at some point. Yeah, in Chris. So December's going to be a fun one. So yeah, stay tuned, folks, for plenty more to come on podcast throughout the rest of the year. There's also a few more bits that I'm personally working on, and we might both be working on coming to the actual YouTube channel, not to the podcast. This is YouTube exclusive. Follow the Instagram and Twitter to find out more about that, which is the _Dreadcast. Nice little side project, still horror film related. But yeah, more will be revealed soon on that. And the TikTok is also the _Dreadcast. One more thing before we get out of here. We have mail.
We do. In our mailbag, which is thedreadcastpodcast@gmail.com.
And we have one from a lovely Mr. Coop, friend of the show, Mr. Cooperson. And it goes like this. Good day, gentlemen. Hope this message finds you both well. We all know that something about the horror genre leads itself to sequel after sequel that leads me to today's question. We all know this. We all know franchises
know.
that have had too many, but what
Yes.
franchises do you feel haven't had enough?
Oh, good question. That is a good question.
It is good, and I feel like the first part to answer it is that films that haven't had enough sequels only deserve the sequels if the story deserves it. Like if the story is good enough to continue. Like
Mm-hmm.
the Saw franchise, they lay a lot of breadcrumbs that need to be followed and fulfilled. A lot of pathways that need to be filled. So maybe not so much in the first film.
No,
First
but
one didn't have
the
that, but-
first was the first. I doubt when they made the first film they had the sort of
Yeah.
you know, they've had to. I feel like they've had to retcon a lot of things with Saw, but
Yeah.
it's been done very well.
But the sequels did that. The sequels made it seem like, we need another one to cap off this story, and then we need another one to cap. But to think of other franchises that could do with sequels, that's a hard one because we're not the biggest fan of sequel after sequel after sequel.
Sequels for the sake of it. But something that we've talked about recently, and I think you might be with me on this, Predator.
Mm.
On the back of Prey
Yep.
being the phenomenal film that it was, I also watched the original the other night as well.
Yeah.
And I think Predator has because it has scope for sequels that aren't gonna just be the same shit happening to the same people over and over again.
Yeah.
You can drop a Predator into any time period, any setting, and do something fun with it, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be your first 5 Friday the 13th where they're pretty much all the same. It's Jason in the woods, a killer in the woods killing people in camps, or Nightmare on Elm Street. The same thing for the most part, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's the same stuff happening to the same people. The Child's Play franchise, like it's still being Andy Barclay all these years later. And
you can have a sequel
to the TV series as well.
You can sequelize your franchise or series, but really change up the setting and the tone of it. Keep the same, like you said, the Predator. Just focus on that, but everything else is different. Everything else can be different. Yeah. Everything else is different.
So that, I mean, all right. There's been a few Predator sequels, and arguably more bad than good.
Yes, yeah.
But I think there's definitely room for some more good ones. Taking what they did with Prey as a cue.
One film that I certainly didn't see a sequel coming, which I am though intrigued about, was it got announced I think last week with the sequel now to It Follows, called They Follow.
Oh, okay. Right.
Don't feel like it deserved a sequel. Not deserved. Needed a sequel. It felt like a very good standalone on its own film. But I'm very intrigued to see where it goes because of the premise.
Yeah.
Because how do you do that? It's a very straightforward premise.
Well, actually, saying that, I'd be interested. And again, I don't really want it to. This is like for me personally, and I probably would watch it. But the Witch, what happened after that with the young girl running off to live deliciously? Like, I don't think it needs to be done, and I don't. But
no.
But you know, there could be a story there.
Like how we don't always need to know backstories or what happened here and there. Like it's left up to the audience's interpretation.
I'm going to muse on this some more because it's a good question. It is a good one.
It's a hard question because for the most part we are like
we're a bit. This film doesn't
need a sequel, and if it does have a sequel, it's done hopefully for a good reason. But for the most part, it's done for cash cow reason because the predecessor made so much money. The studio want to make another one to make the same money, or there's a storyline that needs capping off. They wrote themselves into a corner and they've got to cap it off somehow. Yeah, I think we definitely need to come back to that on the next episode. But that's a good question, Coop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
for writing in.
Yeah, and if you have a question, feel free to send a message to thedreadcastpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
Yes, we would. The podcast.com. That's the one. Check out this podcast and all past episodes on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, and Podbean by searching the Dreadcast. Like I said, there's some new content coming to the YouTube channel in the future. Stay tuned to the Twitter and Instagram for more information on that. Is that it?
I think that's about it.
That's it.
Apart from
Just
a reminder to stay spooky.
Stay spooky.